All right. So, do you remember that Mark Sheldon lost the election, the Panama City Beach incumbent mayor, who had all the support? You remember when he lost the election in April? He's also the owner of Gulf Coast Jam and Sand Jam and all that. And the election was on April 16, right? And when Mayor Sheldon ran for reelection, he had served 4 years. And when he had run against the unknown Stuart Tetimer, nobody knew Stuart Tetimer, right? He sort of laughed at me when I said, there's an election coming up and voters might hold you accountable. And I'd been telling you all about how he had fled um, the investigations out of Alabama. And remember all that? The dragnet. Anyway, I've been reporting on all this stuff. And, when he ran for office, was talking about, how important it was to build hotels for immigrant workers and for affordable housing, all that stuff. You remember. But one thing he never brought up, I'd never heard it brought. He talked about a walkover bridge for his concert customers and all that stuff. But one thing I never heard him talk about, because the election was April 16, is that the very next day on April 17, he was going to announce a new concert, the biggest one ever, right? And so when he lost, the next day, he and his partner, Randy Lovelady, announced Kickoff Jam. And WMBB was so excited, and WJH, I'm going to show you all that. They were so excited about this new big giant concert, Garth Brooks and all the Kickoff Jam. What a surprise. What was he going to do after he won the election? He was, by the way, another bigger conflict of interest. No. He held that back. Nobody mentioned it. How did nobody know? How'd they keep a secret that big? I've been telling you that the Tourist Development Council paid Mark Sheldon's companies more than $10 million since 2015 as startup money, as seed money. I said it to the mayor himself. Here's a reminder of the kind of thing that I would do. This was March 28. I think this was the very last time. It was the very last time I had ever addressed Mayor Mark Sheldon. And here's, if you don't know who Mayor Mark Sheldon, this is Mayor Mark Sheldon. Okay, he was the mayor of Panama City Beach for 4 years. And I got a chance to address him one last time, and it went like this. Oh, he was mad. He was mad. He said he's tired of hearing the lies and misinformation about all the money he got from the Tourist Development Council as startup money. The longest startup since Solyndra, for those of you who remember that. All right, so let's take a listen to what I said to him the very last time, just a couple of weeks before the election. I think Mr. Tetimer made an important point that I've been making all this time too. You weren't honest on WJHG when you said the city asked you to move Gulf Coast Jam. You are the owner of Gulf Coast Jam. You have been paid, your company, more than $10 million since the startup in 2015. Haven't you? That's a long time for seed money. You brag that it's doing well. It doesn't need corporate welfare. You are the city. You were dishonest. You moved it. And it should go back to the shoulder season so that we don't have all the congestion in the summer. Thank you very much. All right. He wasn't happy about that at all. So now I want to show you, I got some stuff to tell you too. The TDC, the Turtle Development Council. That's what I used to call them for years. The Tourist Development Council. I think they're guilty of a Sunshine Law violation, a pretty significant one, maybe two different kinds. Anyway, I got a response from the TDC and I'm waiting for some public records, but you tell me what you think. All right. But first, let's take a look at the um, at the day after the election, WMBB, so excited to announce Kickoff Jam. The big secret that he never talked about. If you elect me, I'll get Kickoff. Nothing, big secret. So we're going to take a look at how WMBB reported that and then compare it to how WMBB reported the cancellation. Just 5 weeks later, the cancellation of the biggest concert ever. Listen how WMBB promotes it. All right, here's Tom Huey Lewis in the news. He is excited. Watch this.
The last Gulf Coast Jam on Labor Day weekend was back in 2021. Now, since then, Labor Day tourism business has dropped off significantly. As News 13's Bailey Nichols tells us, this Labor Day should be different with the launch of a new music festival headlined by country music legend Garth Brooks.
This was the day after he lost the election.
Hey everybody, Garth Brooks here, and if you're me and you only get to do one outdoor gig a year, Panama City Beach, are you kidding me? Welcome to the Kickoff Jam.
And with that announcement, at 9 o'clock Wednesday morning, Panama City Beach's newest entertainment event was unleashed. Kickoff Jam is the latest festival from PCB Entertainment owner and executive producer Randy Lovelady.
Owned by Mark Sheldon.
It will be the biggest event in 40 years, ever.
And working with Garth Brooks has been a lifelong mission.
I've been trying to get Garth at any of my festivals anywhere in the country for 30 years. It's always no. Always no. And just because he does his own thing, he does his own stadiums, they do everything in-house. So him to come our little city at our little venue is just an amazing thing.
Kickoff Jam will highlight 5 decades of country music over 3 days, August 30th through September 1st. There will be a total of 18 music.
You understand this is not news. This is a commercial for Gulf Coast Jam. WMBB never tells you that the mayor owned it. Well, he wasn't the mayor now. I mean, he had just lost the election by a day. And it was a brand new surprise announcement the day after the election because everybody knew he had conflicts of interest. He couldn't tell you because you'd say, damn, the mayor's the concert promoter? Getting all that millions and millions of dollars? This is a commercial. It's not news. Am I right or wrong? This is journalistic malpractice.
Musical acts, including 4 Country Music Hall of Fame inductees. Garth Brooks will headline on Sunday the 1st. Alabama headlines on Friday, August 30th. And Carrie Underwood leads the Saturday night lineup. Landing Garth Brooks was monumental because he has not played outside of Vegas for 2 years.
Garth has vested himself in this event. He's the one that came up with the decades of country music.
Once Brooks became a possibility, Lovelady says he knew something had to be done.
Wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for Garth Brooks. I mean, Garth takes it to a whole nother level.
Lovelady says it is still up in the air if Kickoff Jam will become an annual event. In Panama City Beach, Bailey Nichols, News 13, Panhandle Street.
All right. So that was the big giant, commercial that WMBB played. Let's take a look at when the concert was canceled. On June 7, WMBB did a story. Let's see if it's anywhere as big after it canceled 5 weeks later. All right.
If you were planning on going to Kickoff Jam Labor Day weekend, check your inbox. Ticket purchases are being refunded because the concert has been canceled. The inaugural music festival was set to take place at Frank Brown Park on Panama City Beach. Kickoff Jam was set to highlight 5 decades of country music with Garth Brooks, Carrie Underwood, and Alabama as the headliners. Producers announced the cancellation this morning, saying after the success of Gulf Coast Jam last week on Panama City Beach, we realized the weekend after Memorial Day is a much better time to host a festival. Tickets will be refunded.
All right. I am going to show you WJHG's coverage of it. I'm also going to show you, did the TDC know about this? Did Sheldon's companies get TDC money? We'll see what WJHG has to say about that in a moment. But I'm also going to show you some emails I have sent and received from the TDC. Why has the TDC, the Tourist Development Council, not posted their meeting minutes in nearly 3 months. I'll show you.
Strong, effective leadership. 3 words that could mean the difference between prison and your freedom. I'm Al Saleen, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. All right, so this is the concert promoter and former mayor who was defeated in April on April 16. The next day he announced his new Kickoff jam. 5 weeks later, it was canceled. Mark Sheldon, concert promoter, no longer the mayor. Boy, he thought, God, can I show you something? I got to show you something. So, you know, some of you say, Bernie, nothing will ever change. Look, I feel you. But with that attitude, nothing's going to change. 2 years ago, let me show you something. 2 years ago, this was what was happening in Panama City Beach government. Right here. Oh my gosh, look at this. All right. This was just 2 years ago. You tell me that nothing will ever change? Well, it has. How about that? How about that? You are fired. That was the mayor and the vice mayor 2 years ago. A lot has changed. The unbeatable, look, we don't have the 2 thumb touchers. Why did they do that? Does anybody know? Leave a comment if you know why they stand like this. What is the deal? Do you know that about 4 years ago, all of them stood, 5 men stood, and they all did this thumb touching thing next to each other. And I swear to God, if I was on the city council and they said, hey, all right, we're going to take a picture. Everybody stand with your thumbs like that. What do you think I would have done? Do you think I would have stood with my thumbs like that? I would have leaned my arm on the dais or something, put my hand in my pocket. I'd have been the one guy that didn't. I'm just not a thumb toucher, is what I'm trying to say. They're gone. So when you say nothing will ever change, that's not true. In the last 1 year, 3 incumbent mayors have been defeated. Now they're still kicking and screaming, by the way. They are still kicking and screaming. In August, we have big elections. In August, the sheriff is up for re-election, and he has a rival in Andy Hussar, who retired just recently as a captain from the sheriff's office, an honest guy who will not use lawfare against his political opponents, who will not raid your yard without a warrant and violate your rights, carjack civilians, that kind of thing. Oh, you think I'm joking. But there's also another race, the state attorney. The state attorney is the lead prosecutor for the 14th Judicial Circuit. That's 6 counties? There's nothing more important than that. And currently you have Larry Bassford. Larry Bassford's the chief prosecutor. You talk about lawfare, you talk about inefficiency, but there's somebody running against him too. And his name is Eric Jarman. Did you see when I went to O'Charlie's restaurant the other day? And I was covering the speech by Sheriff Tommy Ford and a little bit of the speech by County Commissioner Tommy Ham. You remember that? Well, I didn't realize that they were going to ask Eric Garman, who was running against Larry Bassford for state attorney, to be the top prosecutor. Do you know in August we have a chance to get an honest person as sheriff and to get an honest prosecutor who was a U.S. Marine and still has his law enforcement credentials? Look, this is him. I want you to see this. Eric Garman. This is what he had to say when they said, "Hey, Eric, do you want to come up and say a few words?"
The other thing I can tell you is I hear a lot that experience matters. You'll hear that. I could not agree with that more. Reviewing a case on a desk is important, but having boots on the street is also important. In one manner or another, I've been involved in law enforcement for 18 years. My standards are still active. I could walk into your office right now and apply for a job because I still hold current law enforcement law standards. You will not find somebody who believes that law enforcement is more important than myself with that office. Another thing I would say about experience matters is school shootings are very big. This is one of the things that showed me that you can learn, you can sit in law school all day and you can never learn what you need to know. You can sit in an office all day and never learn what law enforcement goes through on a daily basis. It's also important, however, to know what the victims go through. I responded to the school board when a shooting occurred. It's not theoretical for me. There was an active shooter inside. I was one of the officers securing that building. We'll have a special bond forever because that was a very traumatic day for everybody involved. What was more traumatic? Sitting in a law school classroom, not having a gun on myself because I was a student and currently not had standards, and there being an active shooter on campus, and knowing I could do nothing to protect the people around me. So you want to talk about experience, especially with victims? I know what that feels like. And I promise you, as far as law and order, keeping people in jail that should be there and upholding the Constitution, I'm your guy. Love to meet and talk to anybody if you'd like.
That's the most important election we've had in I don't know how long. Remember, Larry Bassford is the prosecutor who recommended to Sheriff Ford, to his guys, to arrest the Marcy's Law attorney, Hoot Crawford, who was going to run again. It was going to be Hoot Crawford versus Larry Bassford. But Larry Bassford arrested Hoot Crawford, an attorney, for representing a Marcy's Law teenager. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And Larry Bassford's an old guy, right? He's running around, I got experience. Man, he doesn't have that kind of experience. Eric Garman is 40 years old, but he's a U.S. Marine. He was a police officer. He responded to that big school shooting in Bay County back in the day. Eric Garman is somebody who gives a damn about the Constitution. And you want to talk about efficiency and not overcrowding the jails? Biggest election we have. Eric Garman for state attorney. He's a big underdog. And, but it's up to you. I mean, we can stop lawfare in 6 counties like that in August. Anyway, I bring that up because Larry Bassford, the only person Larry Bassford has ever gone after, well, she had some colleagues, for a son, Michelle Miller, the duly elected mayor in Mexico Beach, that Judge Goodman and others succeeded in a bogus recall election. I sure hope that's being appealed. I've written about it on Substack. The only one. Do you think that Michelle Miller is the only person who ever committed a sunshine violation? She didn't. But a lot of people do. And if you want equal treatment, that's it. Now, there's a sunshine law violation, possibly at the Tourist Development Council, at the TDC. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So the Tourist Development Council meets once a month, and they met on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Now, I didn't know about it. Well, I knew they were meeting, but I didn't see any public notice. They have to give a reasonable public notice. Okay. So I sent an email. Look, I sent an email and asked about it. While I'm looking for this email, and you're going to see their reply, let me thank one more sponsor.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
So I noticed on the Tourist Development Council website, look at this. Look at this. I want to see the meeting minutes. I want to know if they had anything to do with Kickoff Jam. Right? And this is okay, that's my headline. So this is the I'm sorry, showing you the wrong thing. Here we go. This is the Tourist Development Council. And the board meetings. See, it says board meetings. Okay, so let's blow that up and let's go down and look for the last few. Remember, the election was in April of 2024, recently. So April 9, that's only a week before the election. But guess what? I don't see. You see where it says minutes right there, and it's not blue? The other ones, there's the minutes. The last minutes posted by the Tourist Development Council was on February 13. That was the last time they posted their meeting minutes? April, nothing. May, nothing. 2 days ago, nothing. Or yesterday, actually, nothing. Why not? So I asked. I called and I asked, did you guys have a public notice? Like, was it properly noticed that there was going to be a meeting? You want to know what they said? Tell me if you think this is a proper public notice. Hold on. This is the answer I got from Dan Rowe, the president of the TDC. And this is the notice I got. All right, here's the email I got from him. Do you see that? The minutes of the meetings are posted, as they're approved by the board, he says. This is an email I got just today. We have been onboarding. I love the way these bureaucrats talk. We have been onboarding a new administrative officer. Onboarding. A new administrative officer, and that has created a temporary lag in this process. But is the temporary lag by onboarding a new administrator, is that illegal? I'll show you. We did notice yesterday's meeting by email. What? The meeting was noticed by email? It was sent out Friday at 2:48 p.m., says Dan Rowe. We do not use our website as a vehicle to provide notice. Why not? But as a resource to interested parties. Wait a minute. I'm not sure there's anything illegal about this, but it sure doesn't sound right. And I'll even show you what the Sunshine Manual says about it, the Florida Sunshine Law Manual from the Attorney General's office. We post the agenda and presentations following the conclusion of the meeting, and we are currently in the process of uploading the documents from yesterday. Let me know if you have any questions. Well, I did have questions. So I said, Dan, may I please make a public record request for a digital copy of the TDC meeting minutes for April and May? I realized that they have not been posted for the public yet. Well, remember, they haven't been approved by the board. But here's a question for you. Here's a question for you. Does the TDC, are they required by law to show the public the meeting minutes, even if they have not been approved by the board? What do you think the answer is? Well, we're going to find out. So I started thinking about it, and I said, wait a minute. What about not only the meeting minutes, what about the notice? So I sent another public record request just before the show. I said, thank you, Dan. May I make a public record request for a digital copy of the email notice? Usually meetings are posted like on the website. Meetings are scheduled for this, for the public. But I started thinking, wait a minute, they sent an email to notify the public? So I asked for the copy of the email. That was the notice for the meeting, the official notice for the meeting. They all have to be noticed, these public meetings, by law. And I said, please include the list of recipients. Because what I'm wondering is, how is the public noticed about a TDC meeting if the only notice that goes out is to a list of email recipients. That doesn't seem like a public notice to me. I'm willing to learn, but let's see what the Sunshine Law Manual says. This is the 2023. I think there's a 2024 out, but it's basically the same. Here we go. Let's take a look at this. All right. What is reasonable notice? Well, let's take a look here. Can you read that yourself? Is that big enough? All right. A vital element of the Sunshine Law, this is from the state attorney's office, is the requirement that boards subject to the law, like the TDC, provide reasonable notice of all meetings according to statute. Even before the statutory amendment in 1995 expressly requiring notice, the courts had stated that in order for a public meeting to be in essence public, reasonable notice of the meeting must be given. And that was established in case law. Reasonable public notice is required for all meetings subject to the Sunshine Law and is required even though a quorum is not present, according to case law. Notice is required even though meetings of the board are of general. So even if it's a meeting where they're not voting on anything, even if it's just like a general, we're not voting on anything, it's still reasonable notice is required to the public. All right. Quote, government bodies who hold unnoticed meetings do so at their own peril. Put a pin in that. Put a pin in that. Governmental bodies who hold unnoticed meetings do so at their own peril. So the question is going to become, are they giving reasonable notice by sending an email? Who the hell is the email going to? So when I get the list of recipients, I'll let you know. The Sunshine Law does not define the term reasonable notice, and, quote, few cases address the question of what is reasonable notice, according to case law. All right. It depends on the type of notice given. Okay. That case law concluded that the type of notice given, in this case, it's an email to some recipients, depends on the purpose of the notice for the character of the event about which the notice is given and the nature of the rights to be affected. So where, quote, where there is no specific legislative directive as to what constitutes reasonable notice as a matter of law, we agree with the Attorney General that it is a fact of specific inquiry. Therefore, the type of notice is variable and depends upon the facts of the situation and the board involved. In each case, though, you ready for this? An agency must give notice at such time and in such a manner as to enable the media and the general public to attend the meeting. Put a pin in that. Do you think the TDC sending an email notice satisfies that? I didn't get an email. Did you get an email? Was the public properly noticed? An agency must give notice at such time and in such a manner as to enable the media and the general public to attend the meeting. Oh, man. That's the Florida Sunshine Law. I'm not so sure. Do you know that when on June 7th, just recently, just last week, when Kickoff Jam was canceled, WJHG, well, first of all, WMBB, they just did a little tiny blip. Kickoff Jam's been canceled. You saw that. Go get your refunds. And then they were out. But WJHG reached out to the new mayor, Mayor Stuart Teddimer of Panama City Beach, who defeated Mark Sheldon, the owner of Kickoff Jam. And he had not heard about it. He said, okay, hold on. I got to look into this and find out what's going on. So we need to do an interview. Well, he was out of town doing city business at the Florida League of Cities, I believe. So he was in a hotel. He said, okay, we'll do an interview. Let me set up my Zoom, WJHG. Do you want to see it? Here, let me show you. So Mayor Teddimer, this is incredible. He got roped into an interview when this was all breaking. And this is what he had to say. Watch this. This is the new mayor.
Said to be the biggest event yet at Frank Brown Park will no longer happen. News Channel 7's Candace Newman spoke to the mayor, who says that might not be a bad thing.
These Panama City Beach roads will likely remain packed for Labor Day weekend, but it won't be because of people coming to see Garth Brooks, Carrie Underwood, or Alabama. Panama City Beach Mayor Stuart Teddimer says he first heard Kickoff Jam was canceled from News Channel 7.
We need the events during the off season. And I don't know what happened with this event. Maybe they were struggling to sell tickets, but that's why we need to bring tourists here during the off season. Events during the busy season can, it jams up traffic. It can cannibalize other outlets that will be receiving that money.
The mayor also says event organizers ripped away potential use of the public park.
If you take a park reservation, announce something the day after the election, which is when Kickoff Jam was announced, and then a couple months later, drop it, you're taking that reservation from someone else.
The highly publicized event being canceled, the mayor says makes the city look bad.
When you put the Panama City Beach name and advertise all over and then cancel it, it does look bad, not for just the promoters of the event, not just for the event, but it looks bad for the city. And it just makes us seem like an unreliable destination.
The event organizers declined to be interviewed, but
That's
sent
Mark
a
Sheldon.
statement saying they realized this past weekend was the best time to host an event in Panama City Beach. We reached out to the TDC to see if any funds were given to Kickoff Jam, and they said there were not. In Panama.
Okay, so the TDC tells News Channel 7, WJHG, that no funds were given to promote this new Kickoff Jam. But we don't know because they don't notice their meetings except by an email to a list of recipients that I've asked for now, and I'll let you know. But also, they haven't posted their meeting minutes since February. Now, I think that might be a Sunshine Law violation from what I've read. I'll find out, though. And to answer your question, Ms. Sermon, the last TDC meeting was yesterday at 9 a.m. I think I say that, but I think that's true. Because I sent an email, I called Dan Rowe, the president of the TDC, and he answered me promptly this morning. And now I've got 2 public record requests to find out what's going on. But here, remember this. This is going to be interesting. So I have asked for digital copies of the meeting minutes for April and May. In the email, remember, look, in the email, the president of the TDC said this to me today. The minutes of the meetings are posted as they are approved by the board. So the board hasn't approved the meeting minutes since February? But the question is going to be, all right, the question is going to be, am I allowed to see the meeting minutes before the board approves them? Because there's not another TDC meeting for a month. Do I have to wait a month? Does the public have to wait to see the meeting minutes until they're approved by the board? That's the question. And I'll let you know what they tell me. All right, let me look at yours. If you have any comments, any questions or comments, I'll try to answer. Yeah, it is very fishy. You are very welcome. They can put the minutes in the next agenda packet for the public to see. They'll be voted on. Yeah, well, wait. Just wait till I tell you something, sweetheart, about the question I just asked. So we'll see what's happening. I wanted you to know this. The whole thing is shady. For Mark Sheldon, for it to be a big secret until the day after the election, and then for it to fall apart in 5 weeks. But remember that the TDC told WJHG that no money was spent to promote Kickoff Jam. We can't verify that because we don't have the meeting minutes yet. I guess a public record request for the contracts for the companies owned by Mayor Sheldon, Mark Sheldon, former Mayor Sheldon. Maybe that might shed some light on. But I want to know if the TDC knew anything about Kickoff Jam. Who knew about Kickoff Jam? Because the public didn't know jack until the day after the election. Okay, yes, it is crazy. Let's see. Vicky Garrett and Lynn Haven did the same thing with Citizens Finance Committee, in my opinion, not properly knows. Well, we're going to start finding out if there are any consequences to. I don't think proper notices are being sent out, and not just with the TDC. I also think that sunshine violations, real ones, Larry Bassford, are being committed. All right, with that, I'm going to wrap it up. I want to say again, thank you to those of you who throw a tip in the tip jar by being a patron at patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. Without crowdfunding, I could not do this. So thank you for those who do as little as $5 a month, patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. It is anonymous, it's easy, and you can quit at any time. And also, of course, thank you to the Unknown Patriot for sponsoring the show and helping me to pursue the truth and tell you what you just don't see anywhere else.